I want to thank everyone for coming, our visitors and people who are responding to the RFP. My name is Atul Deshmani. I'm one of 3 commissioners. Also is Eddie Uri in the commission room, as well as Jamie Arnett. I notice you all have dressed up. I apologize. Normally I dress up for our commission meetings, but I'm on my way to a little holiday time myself, so forgive me for not doing you justice. Boy, Peter also is always wearing a really nice tie and a jacket, and I don't want to single him out or in any way point him out and have you all look at him and notice he's not wearing a tie and coat today. But Chris is in the room, and he's also upped his game for you all. So thanks for tolerating us this holiday week. So I'll call the meeting to order. And Chris, would you like to take take a moment to explain what the responses from the commissioners were and who we've invited?
Sure. So just by way of background, I let the commission know about 2 weeks ago that I'd be retiring in the middle of next year. And I suggested that we go ahead and find a recruiter to help replace me. This is part of the competitive process to find that recruiter. So there were 4 names that I submitted to the commission, and of them, they asked to talk to 3. So that's who we have now. We have Jem, we have Mykoff, and we have Prothman. Or I guess, Greg, it's GMP now, not Prothman anymore. Yeah. So those were the 3 that were invited. We don't have a lot of structure to today's meeting. What I'd like to suggest is that we have a time up front where the commissioners, who've had about a week now to review the proposals, give them some time to ask questions of each of you. And I would suggest that we do that kind of serially. We pick one recruiter and all 3 commissioners get to ask all the questions, then move on to another recruiter, unless you guys want to do something different. It is your meeting. But that would be my suggestion.
That's fine with me. Yeah, that's great.
Just
Yeah,
some structure to it. And then
sure.
At the end of that, just
or we can ask the same question and we can all answer that question roundtable.
Whatever your preference is. Do you think that'd be easier?
That would be easier for me. One question and I get a response from each person. I have a question that I'm just dying to ask.
Great. So why don't you start off, Jamie, and then we'll just go through the 3 of us, which we'll each take a turn with the question until we run out of questions. And I'll do an informal timekeeping. No buzzer, just approximate. So I just wanted to suggest that keep the answers relatively brief so that we can get through some questions. Please go ahead, Commissioner Arnett.
So my question has to do with estimated costs. The majority of you turned in roughly the same amount, with one of you being far under what seemed typical. And I was just wondering what goes into that cost and maybe what accounts for that huge difference of about $60,000 between the lowest and the highest among you. Could I start with Prothman?
Good morning. I hope you can all hear me okay. I'm Greg Prothman. I'm the owner of GMP Consulting. I think you're referring to our fee versus our expenses. Is that correct?
Your fee. Yep.
Fee covers all of our professional work to accomplish the search. We've been in this industry in the Northwest here for over 24 years now, doing executive search work, and we're highly confident that this fee covers everything we need to do a highly competent search for you. Expenses on top of that, of course, would be about $5,000 to $6,000 estimated. As we're local, we're not charging you a lot for travel. We have Dave Zabel, who's also on the call here, who'll be your prime consultant. He lives over in the Yakima area, so it's certainly drivable up to Whatcom County. Hope that's helpful.
That is, thank you.
Okay.
And how about Jem?
Hello.
Hi there.
We utilized what was typically an industry standard for the search, and it includes everything from the assessment and building of the profile through the management of the process, selection, sourcing. We even most recently provided MBOs, all of our expenses within that.
And what would you see like in additional expense? I know Mr. Prothman stated there'd be like $5,000 to $6,000 in additional expenses. Yours is all included.
Yes, with the exception for the travel costs associated with flying candidates in.
Okay.
And that's typically expensable back. Depends on what your structure is, whether or not you want the candidate to pay those fees, those costs up front, or use a travel agency, whatever might, each of our clients do it kind of different.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Mike Hoff?
Hi, nice to meet everyone. Thanks for the invitation to participate. I'm not sure which one of us is higher or lower. My guess is mine's probably comparable to one of the other people and much higher than one of the other people. So I'll just, with that assumption, it's similar to what's been said. It's kind of our industry standard. We used to base this off of a percentage of salary. And we have stepped away from that practice because there's a perceived conflict of interest that we might have a kind of a dedicated cadre of people that are more expensive than not. So I think we've taken things and put them into more of a flat fee. And it sounds like a lot of my colleagues on the line have done something similar, which is probably why it's very aligned. But I would say what I've given you is a fairly competitive and what we find reasonable fee where our risks and work is covered, as well as something that gives you what I think is a perceived value. We would also have additional expenses, much like Mr. Prothman has estimated. It's whatever it is to fly us out there or other candidates out there. I would say it's likely no more than $4,000 or $5,000. A lot of that depends on how many candidates the commission picks to interview and how many rounds of in-person interviews.
Thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Yuri.
Well, I'm realizing we did, we kind of skipped over perhaps the formality of introductions
Oh,
and
good, yeah.
as far as like just who everyone is here, and it wasn't clear to me, do we have four firms represented here or
No,
three?
three.
Okay. And we hadn't heard yet from Dave, so I maybe just.
Dave is part of Prothman, right?
Dave is-
Or you go by a different acronym now, but
GMP, yeah.
GMP.
GMP,
Mhm.
okay. Did we wanna
Sure.
at all just
Sure.
like, just for,
I just got right into the
we
meat
jumped right
potatoes.
into it, but.
I'm on holiday time too, so we're just,
For sure. Well, I mean, since everyone's now, at least I know who everyone is more or less. Yeah, thank you all for joining us for sure, and on such short notice. For laying things out, did you want to? I think it might be good to just give everyone an opportunity to just say a little bit about, what anything we'd like to know about their firm and their proposal and where they're coming from. We have reviewed their what's in the applications or the first what's first bids, but I'd like to just give everyone the opportunity to do that before, and then perhaps we could ask some follow-up questions of each.
sure.
Great, yeah, so if you, why don't we follow the same order? Why don't you start, Greg and Dave, and give us a minute or two about what we should perhaps know that isn't in the write-up that would help us understand you better.
Sure, I'll be happy to start if you want. As I mentioned, we're a public sector executive search firm. We are located primarily here in the Northwest, but we do executive search work across the nation. We currently have between 25 and about 30 searches going on at any point in time. We have 18 consultants working in the firm with another 6 administrative staff helping out. I've been in the business since 1996, and I know my colleague Dave here. I'll have him introduce himself also. And that was the nickel tour. That was the nickel tour, by the way. There's a much broader tour if you like.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Dave Zabel, and like Greg, most of my city manager experience has been in Washington State. Matter of fact, all of it, as well as I served public works director for a couple of cities as well. And so I have a pretty extensive background in municipal government in Washington State, water rights, very familiar with, interlocal agreements, those type of things that it takes for utility to be able to operate effectively. Also, I can get into probably some more of the search specifics. I'm excited. I just want to say I'm excited about the utility itself. I've had a chance to do a little bit of work last couple of days, just kind of researching the firm, and it's a very exciting position. I think the broadband piece really adds a lot when you're tapping into these professionals that typically run electrical utilities and water sewer districts. So.
Hello, everyone. I'm Allie Franks, and I am the founder of GEM Resourcing. Been recruiting, oh gosh, more than 30 years now. And more recently in the public sector, I would say specializing within utilities for the past 25 years. And we conduct our searches nationally. So we are based in Denver and conduct searches all over the United States. We have somehow found an affinity towards Washington, and we've done a number of C-level searches within Washington. I would say that we're very familiar with the Pacific Northwest. And I think one of the things that we do well is partnering with the commission to figure out what they are looking for the immediate needs, short-term, long-term, and managing the process in a way that really provides governance across the board, as well as process. We're very consistent with our processes and how we conduct the searches. I will gladly brag that in our time of placing folks across the utilities nationally, we have had 100% retention for more than 5 years. So I think that's one thing that I'm pretty proud of, especially when you're looking at these types of resources. Relocation is going to become a component of this type of a search if we want to conduct a thorough search. And sometimes people will get cold feet moving into a region. I think that's one thing that we do a very good job vetting. But we are a boutique firm. We are small, but we're lean and mean. You will have a dedicated team that will be working for you night and day if needed, and we will get it done. Most recently, conducted a GM search in the region in 72 days from start to finish in the dead of summer, and really had a very successful search going through that process. And thank you for giving us an opportunity.
Hello, everyone.
And this is Lindsay. I'm sorry.
Lindsay, I'm the business operations manager, and I've been in the recruiting industry and with GEM for 6.5 years. So I work with Allie on the client side.
Great.
Sorry for interrupting. My apologies. Yeah. I'm Lainey. The firm is Mycoff Fry Partners, like my last name. My father started our firm in 1974. So I haven't quite done that math, but 52 years. I joined in 96. So similar to one of my colleagues on here, I've been doing this for a lot longer than I care to admit. We are also a small staff of 6. We do nationwide work, also in Colorado. I would say we don't have a pocket that we specify in. It is utility and has always been utility that we specify in. I would say combined utilities, but mostly electric focused has been much of what we do. I would say 90% of what we do is in the not-for-profit sector, whether that's public power, water utilities, electric co-ops, G&Ts, joint action agencies, those types of things. In the Pacific Northwest, some of our clients have been Tacoma, Snohomish, Pend Oreille. If we get up into Oregon, quite a few other folks. I do not have 100% retention rate. That's impressive. Ours is 92%. We have done a little bit of a count and a calibration of CEOs. There's 236 that we've done in the history of our career, and our 5-year retention rate is 92%. So I think that's pretty good. I have not calculated the C-suite. There's hundreds and hundreds of them. I don't know that I could give you that, but Chris has been a candidate for me before. We placed him at Snohomish and then also in a GM role before he came to you folks. So that would be one such example before getting to just the C-suite or CEO folks that we track. Happy to answer their questions. That might give you just a bit of a snapshot of what we do.
Thank you. Thank
Sure. My pleasure.
you. Eddie, would you like to move forward with a question?
What? Maybe you should go first.
Okay, I'll go next. So one of the things that was in Chris's email to you all that we haven't formally deliberated on as a commission, I wanted to identify, but is useful to bring up at this time, was the salary range of the position. And what are your thoughts about that? Reasonable, too high, too low? So maybe let's change the order this time. Allison, can you go first, and then Lainey, and then Greg?
Absolutely, thank you. So I think the salary range is a little bit on the low side from what we've seen in the marketplace most recently. That being said, I will tell you, having just recently completed a similar but different search, they're all different. We did identify candidates in a range that was actually a little bit less for a local public-owned utility in Washington. And we did have a long list of candidates that were excited because of the opportunity. They're the level below a GM, so it was going to offer them an opportunity for growth. So they became more flexible, especially with the transference of the benefits within the state. Some of those things were able to move over. So at the end of the day, I think it is on the low side. There were candidates that would not throw their name into the mix because it was a bit on the low side. I think the magic number is probably sitting between 275 and 325 is where my gut tells me. But I really think we could find great candidates at the salary that you're offering. So to me, that was not a showstopper in any way, shape, or form. I don't know if I answered your question there.
No, it's a great answer. Yeah. Lainey, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I do think 250 to 300 is workable, much like what Allie had just mentioned. Honda Ray is probably the most recent similar type of search that we've done. It was a much smaller water and a lot bigger on the electric side. And just to be perfectly honest with you, they wouldn't get above 225 and it was a struggle. I think you have to get a little closer to 3 to sort of find the type of talent that you'd like. I believe if you're flexible, if we're hiring for talent, if you can take the next tier up and people that are willing to, you know, maybe take a little bit of a step into the GM role for a slightly lesser salary, those are likely the candidates you would get. I would say you're not going to get a lot of sitting general managers unless you push over 3.
Greg?
Yeah, I have to agree with my colleagues. In my experience, I think.
Oh, you don't have to agree with your colleagues.
Well, in this case, I actually do. I think they're spot on. I have to give them full credit. Though going last, I'll take all the credit now because I can say the same thing. But actually, when we did the Loveland Utilities Director, they were at 322. Different cost of living, different location, of course. But I think I agree. Given the cost of living and the state of the market, probably in that top end of 350, the bottom end of about 275. And my counsel would be for the commission, some of these numbers at the top end are eye-watering, and I get it. But it offers you that opportunity to hire the rising star or the really top-end person at his or her, you know, at the top of their game. And it gives you that opportunity then to select wisely as you see appropriate. In the absence of having a competitive job compensation range advertised, you will get lesser candidates as a result. There's just no doubt around that. So that's my thought process. I'd want to do a little more empirical work for you before I arrived at that number 100%, but that's my gut reaction to it.
Great, thank you. Let's move on to the next question. Jamie, would you like to go next, or Eddie?
Sure. So we recently completed our strategic plan. And given our goals and aspirations and sort of the changing landscape here at Whatcom County PUD, what type of candidate do you think would be good for Whatcom County PUD? And what are some of the traits and what's some of the background that you might be identifying for a potential candidate at Whatcom PUD?
I'm gonna start.
I guess to be clear, I'm looking for strategic alignment. So I will start with Allison.
May as well put my neck out there on the line. I specifically shied away from integrating specifics within our response because I tend to take an approach of not telling my clients what they need, rather sourcing out from them what really is important to them. So that's a very general answer. I will tell you that's a very important part of our process. Yet, when I initially looked at the strategic plan and I looked at the role and sort of some of the things the individual will be navigating over, let's say, the next 5 years, my gut initially, and I'm a little bit, going by the seat of my pants right now, so take it for what it's worth. One of the things that really kind of stood out to me was looking for a strong leader because of the mention of the focus on the employees and the community. I think that's definitely loud and clear. My inclination was to lean around somebody that had some successes around some very large infrastructure investment type projects. That was something that stood out to me with some of the large investments you have coming up in the near future being the largest investments you've ever made. That to me seemed like an important component that the individual will have had in their background. I was on the fence on whether or not the water portion was going to be important. Having worked within water, at that point, I was going to lean more towards what your thoughts are as far as that being important. Definitely around regulation. I think the water with what you have going on coming up with, I really believe that there's going to be a strong need for somebody who does understand regulation and dealt with that as part of their leadership. So I was that part of it is really something that I was leaning towards asking you. I also think though somebody that isn't just sitting in today, that they've led a transformation, which finding a utility leader that has been successful doing that with all of the change that's happening at this moment, that to me is going to be where really vetting that would be important to me, is that success, not just talking about it, because a lot of GMs right now or leaders haven't went through the transformations that are happening in the industry. So that's where one of the things that I really kind of zeroed in on from a profile perspective that kind of jumped out to me, as well as the leadership. Those were kind of the things that jumped out to me.
Thank you for being brave and taking on that question first. That was great.
Thank you.
Mike Hoff, same question.
Yeah, so similar to what you just heard, I also like to probe and find out what it is that you're looking for. That said, I think some of the questions I would ask you and some of the assumptions I might make that are important goes back to a little bit what you just heard, the large infrastructure. I mean, you're building or rebuilding a large wastewater treatment plant, you're enhancing your transmission, your geothermal exploration with the tribe. I mean, all of that is a lot of capital. It's pretty important to get right. So I do think you're probably looking for somebody that's managed larger P&L. They've demonstrated that they can perform and bring some things to fruition on time and under budget in the utility space. My guess is you probably want electric and water, or at least large infrastructure in some combination of electric and water. So those would be questions I would ask. I do have questions about economic development. I mean, if you have some very large customers and there's other areas in which you might bring other folks to the fold, particularly to eat up some of this geothermal resource that you might develop, or if you're overbuilding your water treatment plant, that might be something that's important to you. I don't know for a fact. Oftentimes in the Pacific Northwest, some exposure to BPA and the different players that are up in that region tend to be pretty important. So I would want to ask how important some of that resource planning, power supply discussion. My guess is, you know, the 2028 contracts are already or should have been negotiated. So maybe you're in that and it's already taken care of. But since one of your plans is, you know, continued environmentally sustainable resources, that's not easy to find anymore. And so that's a very specific skill set as well. And then I agree also with what Ms. Franks had said about leadership. You know, you had mentioned that in a few different indications. You know, I know that you recently hired an AGM in the last handful of years. My guess is that's for succession planning purposes. So my thought is you probably need a leader that's going to continue down that succession planning front and show some successes there.
Thank you.
I think a lot of wisdom in what I've heard already, and I agree with much of what has been said. From a fundamental approach, we're going to want to do some in-person interviews. Well, first of all, back to the core of your question. Having read a lot of the materials that you have sent us, I take that at sort of face value for what's written. But now I really want to hear what's important to the commission. What is it that you think you need in a moving forward proposition in your next general manager? We want to spend an hour and a half with each of you and have that conversation. What went into your thinking that generated your comprehensive plan and taken it in the direction that it did? I mean, that there's a history here that we want to know more about. So we'd love to interview and spend time with each of you. We'd want to spend time with your management team. We'd want to spend time with your partners out there that you work with a lot to get to know what all of that whole bit of input that comes back to us. And then we'll try to then do our very best job of reciting that back to you in a position profile that you get to look at and decide if we're hitting the nail on the head or if we need to make a mid-course correction. And we keep working on it till we get it to a point where it's on paper and you agree with it. We now know what we're looking for in terms of skills, talents, and abilities, and what you need for the next 5 to 7 years to 10 years in this role. That part of the process is critical path. And really understanding and not presuming to know yet what you need. We certainly read all the materials. We certainly have a lot of background. We certainly have an awful lot of information, but fundamentally, we need to find somebody who is competent in your industry, that has all of the skill sets you're required at a fundamental level, and then look whether or not this person needs to be progressive, or, you know, what is it that you're looking for in terms of that moving forward proposition. I mean, that's part of the discovery process that we spend in coming on campus and spending much time as we can with you to understand what it is that we need to find for you.
Thank you. Mr. Prothman, just to follow up, was there anything in our strategic plan, however, that sort of helped tell you what kind of candidate we may be wanting?
You know, I'll be honest with you, I didn't spend a lot of time in the strategic plan at this phase, primarily because it would start to bias me towards what I think you wanted to hear, what I think we wanted to learn from. And I like to keep more of an open mind at this point. I'm trying to dodge the work of preparing. That's not the point. But it is, I think, part of our process that we come in with an open mind and really want to hear what the commissioners have to say. Then, as part of the process, we'll do our due diligence and reading all of the supporting materials that we think is relevant for the search.
Thank you.
Okay, Eddie, are you ready to ask a question?
Sure. You know, recognizing in our RFP, we put out a somewhat ambitious timeline of you know, hiring in 3 months, having someone start by June. I'm curious, just from each of you and your experience, Is that a reasonable amount of time? Is that consistent with other processes in recruitment you've gone through? Do you expect to get a good number of competitive candidates? Just kind of looking for a general gauge on that. Is that constraining? Is it challenging? Is it just right in terms of how long it typically takes? And I guess we gotta have Greg go first and then go work back. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and 90 days is 90 to 100 days is our process. We've outlined that in our proposal. We meet that almost 100% of the time. So that's, yeah, very doable. And that includes time then to negotiate the contract and then for the candidate to do transition time with professional notice from their job and to hopefully be on site within that 6-month time frame.
Cool.
Me? There.
Yeah, please.
Okay, sorry, didn't want to over.
No, good.
Yeah, I also put together some specific dates in my proposal. Those I think would be easy to meet. I think the challenge at the end is the start date. If you do get somebody that's under a 90-day change of control or that kind of notice, that's what might push you beyond. So I tried to build in enough time that gives us some wiggle room to make sure that the start date happens. I would say 4 to 6 months from start to somebody walking in the door is about right. Certainly there's parts of that we can expedite, but a little of it is how many interviews do you want? Are they all in person? Are they virtual? How do we speed things along? But I think it's doable. I just don't know about when you pick your successful candidate, what are they already obligated to give as notice?
Fair.
And I would agree with my colleagues as well, as far as from a timeline. We, like I mentioned, just recently completed a search in 72 days from start to finish with the entire summer vacations we were navigating, which was probably the most challenging part of the equation to manage that. I believe this time of year is a really good time of year to conduct a search like this, where the timing I feel like is good. So I feel like it can expedite the process, given your schedules, things like that we sometimes don't always have control of. So those, but I feel like it's very doable. You definitely have to look at timing around notice and relocation, but there's ways to kind of navigate that depending on your flexibility. Somebody may be coming. We recently did a search where they wanted some overlap, and we completed that search in, I think it was 40 some days. That was a little bit, I think that was last year, maybe 18 months ago. And they needed the overlap. We had the candidate move temporarily for a month to ensure the overlap, and then went back, took 2 weeks, moved their family. And so, there's just kind of creative ways to navigate for that overlap. But I would say it's very doable.
Great. Should I go ahead with a question? So let's see, what's my order gonna be? Let's say
You need to pick on Laney
Allison,
first.
Greg, and then Laney. But first you need a question. So we're a commission. We're all 3 electeds.
Oh no, I think we froze.
You just froze.
Yes. Sometimes like herding cats for Chris. Can you hear me now?
No,
Am I still frozen?
you're
Okay,
better.
good, good.
Something about
Good, I'm
herding
back.
cats.
I'm back.
Herding
Yeah,
cats.
we're electeds. It's a little bit like herding cats for Chris, I'm sure at times. We really obviously want to come to a unanimous decision on the general manager. It's a really, really important thing we do. It's our greatest, most important responsibility. Talk a little bit about your experience working with elected commissions, and if you have some funny stories, that's great. Or thinking about the fact that what's different here, I should make clear, is that you've got 3 commissioners who are relatively new. I'm the elder statesman in this group, and I've only been here 7 years. And I don't want any special props for my colleagues for that. Although if they offer, I won't mind. The, the point is that we're a young group, we're a dynamic group, we're all very involved in our community. That you should know. You can guess that looking at us. And the reality is that we're an organization in rapid transformation. I should give that as background as well. So thinking about that, talk a little bit about your experience working with commissions and what maybe some of the, let's say, opportunities and challenges are.
So just so you know, the first question on my list of questions, had I had the opportunity to ask questions, was, as a 3-member commission, how do you typically approach decision-making and consensus on major leadership decisions? That was my first and foremost question, just given the landscape of working with a commission. And so I'm going to ask you that question.
Let's do this. After you finish your answer, we'll go back and after you guys finish answering this question, let's do that. Let's give each of you a chance to ask us a question. I think that will be fun and also informative.
Great. So I will tell you, it is like herding cats. I think you stole my mindset there as far as getting everybody to agreement. In my experience working with a commission, I'm not trying, it's not my job necessarily to get you to a consensus. It's to identify where we can agree to start. And so that to me is more of the core requirements. Do you want water? Do you want broadband? Do you want electric? Kind of whittling down and prioritizing doesn't mean we're going to get 100% agreement. In my experience, what I've found is educating my clients who've maybe never been through a process like this. Most of the time they have not, as a commission, as a group. By showing you profiles, walking you through, we'll get initial consensus that'll give us enough to enable us to go to market. We'll go to market, then the discussion when we go through, and we have a very standard process we use to, I typically will proctor all of the interviews and run the interviews so that there is consistency, there's the governance, we have standard scorecards. And what I will then do after the first review is typically that's where we can really start to get to, I guess I would say, the guts of the search, because you've had an opportunity to see some profiles. Before that, it's kind of this invisible world of, wow, I would love to have this. And it's my job to give you some advice and to help guide you. But that's typically what I've found. The consensus part, for some reason, I feel like has always worked itself out. I've been fortunate to work with some amazing commission groups, and they typically have a way that they ultimately will decide. Most recently, the most recent search we completed, the one within 72 days, that board was one individual that had been on the board for a while, came out of kind of corporate America. The other two local to the small area and not necessarily super involved within business. They have an established relationship, but we still had a number of disagreements. The final 2 candidates we flew in, the president was 100% convinced it was completely opposite to the other 2. So I thought I was going to have to manage that process, and I actually was pretty prepared for it to be challenging. And at the end of the day, we were able to ask questions of the team and really whittle it down to the facts at that point. And the decision was clear as day, and unanimously the 3 of them were on board. So sometimes it's a process to get you there. I don't look for it 100% upfront. As a matter of fact, that's the best part of having a commission, right? You're supposed to challenge each other. And I would be shocked if you knew if you all came to the same agreement on what the perfect profile looks like coming out of the gate. And that's why I think using a search firm, whether it's us or one of our other two colleagues, is so critical in this type of a situation. We're experts at recruitment. We're experts at the industry. It sounds like we're all very knowledgeable. And so our job is to help you with information and guide you to that. And at the end of the day, I trust our process, and I trust that you are in your elected roles because you're smart, competent, you know what the community wants, and you're their voice, and you'll do the right thing. So we've never had it be an issue, but man, could I tell you some funny stories? And it is the toughest part of my job. So I hope that helps.
Yeah. Greg, please go ahead.
Sure. I think one of the things that's important to note is that both Dave and I are former city managers. We worked with hundreds of, well, myself as a practitioner, worked with over 27 elected officials. Dave's probably got a larger number than that because he's worked with more cities. But as a company, we've facilitated final interviews with probably 250 to 300 elected bodies, from, PUDs to water and sewer districts to counties to cities, elected commissions. I mean, it's probably one of the things we do best is really help facilitating a process with elected officials. As touched on earlier, I think the process is super important, and having the process work. As I said, we've been in this industry for 26 years, and the process we've developed works well if we follow it. One of the key notes is when you get into your final interviews, if you do choose to use advisory groups or advisory panels, which I recommend, it's always good to get another look at candidates from a different perspective. I strongly recommend to the commission that you ask for strengths and weaknesses only, and not to have those groups rank. You're burdened with the responsibility of selection statutorily. It's your call, and nobody, and you'll be held accountable for that by your electorate, by the folks who elect you. So I want to make sure you get the best information possible without being told who somebody else's number one is and getting backed into a corner inadvertently. So that's part of our process, is we get you as much information as we can in terms, background, criminal history, reference checks, information from other folks, strengths, weaknesses, and then really help you sort through that information in a facilitated process, which I think is one of our strengths and what we do really well at. And in the end, it's been my experience that while your number two might have been somebody else's number one, but the difference is so minute sometimes that we all agree upon either of those candidates could do the job and do it well. And eventually the board works its way down to a consensus. It may take an hour, it may take 3 hours, it may take 2 days. It's okay. But that process is part of what we do and help facilitate that process. And we've been really successful with that. We have a lot of confidence in what we do. We offer an 18-month guarantee. We'll come back and do this search for free if that person leaves for any reason. We rarely, if ever, have to come back and honor that. I think out of the last 175 searches, I've had to do one. The person just decided he didn't want to live that location 11 months later. Fine, no problem. We came back and help with that search. But that's because we believe in this process, and we believe in that facilitated, value-added, I think, proposition that maybe we bring to the table.
Hard to add. There's a lot of similarity to what we all do. I think a similar process. I think the key is up front, really sussing out what it is that you all three want individually and collectively, what you agree on. But I would agree with what was said before. It really starts to gel once you start seeing resumes and candidates and start seeing who this is, what their leadership acumen is. Does it fit culturally? Does this feel like the right sort of ethic and all of the kinds of things that you're looking for that are more qualitative than quantitative? And I don't know that you get there until you start visiting. But similar to what was said, sometimes you might have a 1 or a 2 or a 1, 2, 3, but all 3 can do the job. I think our job is to give you a lot of options, and I would never support a choice that one of the commissions, especially if there's 3 of you, could not get behind. I think that's an indication that we need to go find more candidates. I think if all 3 of you might have slight different preferences and priorities, but you could support any of the 1 or 2 or 3 finalists, then we're in good shape. So I think there's always that option at any point in the search where we go, we have to regroup. And again, that doesn't happen very often, but it sounds like we all sort of take the right approach to get this right the first time. As far as your first question of how many commissions, we've done 236 CEOs and 80% of those have at least been public power. So that's roughly 189 different boards, and some of them are elected PUDs, some of them are city councils that sit in a separate seat so I don't know that I could give you the exact number, but it sounds like from all three of us, it's a lot of what we do is working with you folks as a group to give you options, to inform you what's out there, to listen to what you folks have to say, to really understand your priorities. And then we give you as many options as we think we can that bring the talent to the table to do the job.
Great, now let's switch to a question from you guys. So Allison, you sound like you're ready to go.
Well, I had my top question, which is how do you typically approach your decision-making process to come to agreement?
Well, I'll just speak for myself. I think I already kind of answered in my way I asked you. Yeah, I mean, I'd like us to all have get to the same place. It's hard work. The good thing is we get to deliberate as much as we need to, and to get there. But that's my feeling about it. So, Eddie, Jamie, you want to speak?
Sure. How do we reach consensus? I bully and intimidate my fellow commissioners until I get my way.
I like it.
Joking aside.
Yeah.
No, I think a tool is a negotiator. There's been rarely times where we do disagree, and usually those are on issues that we are very passionate about. And even with just three of us, it's okay if we disagree sometimes, if there's a 2-1 vote. Like I said, I think it's happened. Atul, how many times do you think it's happened in the last 4 years? Twice? Once?
Twice.
Twice.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's not often that we don't reach consensus, but I don't think consensus is always necessary. There's tension sometimes, and sometimes we disagree, and I think it's okay for people to honor that and stick to their guns. So if the bullying and intimidation doesn't work.
Well, yeah, agreeing that, of course, consensus is the goal with all of our decisions, and we're typically not too difficult. Something like this hiring decision is something. It's a whole other thing from every other kind of decision that we come to. I think if there's a distance between us about preferences, or and when we get into reviewing our applicants, it's going to be we're going to have to I think we're going to have to work through figuring out exactly what are the points of agreement that we have, and the criteria that we're looking for, and I think we'll be able to navigate it. But yeah, I think it'll have to be, if there's like a hard no or like a boundary for one of us, I think it's going to be unlikely that we're going to two of us are going to override, and one of us is going to be really unhappy with the decision. Like, I do have confidence one way or the other, we're going to be able to all be really, everyone, and hopefully all the staff as well will be really happy with who we arrive with.
We also like each other and get along, so
Yeah,
so that's helpful. And lots of love and respect for my fellow commissioners.
And I mean, we obviously these aren't everything we do in the community. Like all three of these commissioners are involved in many other things in the community, and we do good work outside of the PUD as well. So, who wants to go next with the question?
Can I just
Hello.
share?
Oh, okay.
No, well, I just wanted to share with the recent search that we did. I will tell you a candidate, just a data point for you to consider. There was a situation with some terminations recently within Washington due to a 3-person board, the perception out there. So I will tell you one thing that we did see quite a bit with local, within the Pacific Northwest, just as a data point for you on the search, was candidates being a little bit hesitant about a 3-person board as they sort of entered in, and they were looking a little bit more in specifics around an agreement. Could there be an exit situation where there's a disagreement with the commissioners? So I just wanted to bring that up because it was brought up pretty consistently by candidates within the region.
Hmm,
We
That's
agree.
good to know. Thanks.
Yeah.
You want me to go to next? Hey.
Here, go ahead, Rick.
A couple of comments. One, it's great to hear you folks get along. I think that is a critical path for candidates who will do their homework on you before they decide to, if they're going to be a serious candidate. So that's awesome. I was remiss in mentioning that Dave Zabel, my colleague here, was also a water district commissioner for 14 years. So he's also worked on a board. So he has firsthand experience in helping bring a board to consensus. The question I would have for you is, fast forward a year from now, what does success look like to you in terms of this new general manager? What do you want to see your organization look like, feel like? What it's doing well today? What do you want to do better tomorrow? What is it that you would like to see that you would define success as in your organization? It doesn't have to be a long answer. Just a quick insight as to what it should look like a year from now.
I'll go. One of the things that I've been sort of passionate about, and it did come across in the strategic plan, I think in a few places, is that we've really been working on workplace culture here at the PUD. We've gone through some pretty significant transitions in the past few years. We're a relatively new commission, as Atul had pointed out, which means that a lot of people that served for a lot of years at Whatcom County PUD are no longer serving. We replaced them. We also have a fairly new GM who we knew was going to be here for just a short time. But it creates some sort of, it creates some instability and some shakiness and sometimes a lack of confidence with longtime employees. And it's really important to me also, as not just a PUD commissioner, but I'm also an executive director outside of this, that culture is important to me, that people are happy in the work that they're doing, that people are, proud of the workplace where they're working. So I would say that in a year's time, I want to see us continuing to make those changes in culture. And it's going to be important for me when I choose a new GM. That's something that they're good. That bringing together people is something that they're also good at, right? There's lots of people that have, I think, a skill set for running, organizations, but not all of them have the same people skills. I'm looking for high IQ and high EQ.
Thank you.
Well, recognizing we are entering a year of uncertainty, not knowing who our next general manager is going to be, and then in their first half year, we'll be in that very much in a learning warm-up onboarding phase where I think our other staff will be having to assume a higher level of responsibility in the transition, as well as for commissioners and all of us. And it's no small thing to go through and navigate. Where I'm envisioning say a year from now where everyone is settled into it. It's a good question, right? It's actually thinking visualizing it. What does that actually look like in having that person who everyone can feel comfortable enough with and confident in their leadership, and bouncing between, I think, where and Chris could speak to this, right? There's there's all the work that you do in managing the organization and the staff, and external relationships, and then there's just the three of us and the dynamics of how our governance, and someone who's able to I think strike the right, be able to strike all the chords with all parties there. So I guess it's hard, yeah, it's something I have to think more about as far as visualizing, but basically, you know, if we have someone who we all feel is like they're here to stay for a good amount of time, or you know, for at least however many years we agree to, that I'd say that's success.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so I'll go next, and I'm gonna start off by saying, and you're gonna know where I'm going, where I start. I said, Chris, I love Chris. If I had to pick him all over again, I'd pick him again. But we've butted heads, and it's been all good. I wouldn't have traded anything for my relationship with Chris at the PUD. But we can't. None of us can be everything. I'm sure not everything. So one of the things that I think is a real opportunity is for more finesse. Water adjudication, boy, that's a messy subject. Relationships with, it's not only you have to have the right thing to say, which I have no doubt in our team in that regard, but there's a way to say it and the order of statements that you make in a way to make sure that you minimize friction around it. There's could be complexity with also again with natural resources and tribes relating to geothermal. So I guess if I have to pick one word that I really want to have us being a little bit better at it in terms of our external relations is finesse. Now, since Jamie already mentioned culture, I also want to keep making progress on the I'm not going to repeat that point. And I really would also like to continue to make progress in our organizational culture. And we've been making great progress in that area, and especially in the last year, and I want to keep making that progress. And hopefully that summarizes it. Finesse and culture. One last thing is that there was this, there's some really important waypoints on broadband, energy, and water that Chris has helped us identify and that are reflected in the strategic plan. I don't want to let go of those waypoints. It's just getting to all those markers is going to take some finesse, and that's important to me.
Thank you. You've already provided a lot of information for me. It really has been helpful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, those are great questions. I guess, have you met as a team to discuss the top 2 or 3 hiring criteria that you're after? I mean, some of that's been already answered with what does success look like in a year, but even more broadly, is there a top 2 to 3 that has surfaced for all of you of a hiring criteria that any of us, if we were to get this search, needs to start thinking about and looking for and identifying the right candidates that fit that profile?
Short answer, no.
Not really, no.
We
No.
haven't.
No, me
Yeah,
either.
longer.
I love how we work together as a commission. Like part, I want to be a little bit careful not to put too much out there yet, because I want us to deliberate more.
Yeah.
Before putting, things on a piece of paper that's identify that, and hopefully working with our firm really pin some of those things down. But a little bit, we kind of got that in the last question. Would you like to check? Maybe, is there something that we could answer for you though that would be a little bit more would be more capable of answering right now?
Well, Atul, I do want to address that though. So this has come at us fast and furiously, right? We found out 2 weeks ago that Chris was planning on, in a just really dirty dog way, he was just like, I quit. Yeah, I'll never forgive him.
You guys
He
are
knows
terrible.
that,
You guys are
but
terrible.
anyway, so, we only meet twice a month unless we schedule a special meeting. So we have not had a chance to sit down and talk about, how we're feeling about you all, what kind of person we're looking for. I think that this meeting has been really helpful, and I do hope that moving forward with whichever firm that we choose, that you would help us sort of narrow down what we might be searching for. Because I don't know all of the things, but I do, like, in my opinion, my question on strategic alignment was actually pretty pointed, because I do want somebody that aligns with us strategically, and I do want whomever we choose to know the strategic plan and kind of know maybe for us or come to a decision with us on what it is and isn't what
Gotcha.
we're looking
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I don't know that I have other specifics, Atul. I think I would wait to have that conversation if we were the firm. I don't want to put you in a position where you have to out your criteria and it's different from theirs, and then we're in the wrong spot. So I'll table any
Do you
questions.
want to, anything, this is, bring up anything for you as far as answering Lainey's question?
Well, I mean, I could throw out some ideas I have about criteria we're looking for, but if we didn't want to go down that road yet and wait till
Oh,
we're.
feel free. I
stage
mean,
process.
I just, feel free if you want to bring something.
Well, I didn't, well, I mean, if we wanted to go that route, because it's.
Look at he looks at me like I do bully him.
I mean, it's true that we just haven't had we haven't had that time and space yet to process that, and I think we will all probably agree, but yeah, I mean, looking for someone who's has experience and capability in organizational change management and growth. Granted that we do strive to build out some new areas of activity for the PUD and expanding the role, and that's all part of the plans and what Chris has led in the last 5 years of since in the last 5 or just in the the amount of time that Atul's been the commissioner here, or even since Jamie has I'm the junior member. Just so much change, right, in the PUD. We expect to do a lot more in the next 5 years. And looking for someone, ideally someone that understands the things about the things you need to know about the locality in which we live and work here. And granted, wanting to cast a wide net with a national search here and not close any doors, but there's some unique things about the role of the PUD, and it's in our where we are in this part of the country and the geography, and where we come in prepared for that. I would like to see, and we're gonna have to. That is going to be the challenge, though. The whole thing is how we only we typically meet twice a month. We'll schedule special meetings additionally, no doubt, for this process. But we are going to have to move pretty fast with the whole thing. And yeah, I don't know if y'all want to talk more on that, but
yeah. All right. Well, we're right about at 2 o'clock. We scheduled another hour for this meeting. I wanted to check in with my colleagues, commission. Where do you think we should go from here now in this meeting?
Well, did we schedule some time just for us to deliberate among ourselves?
Basically, we've actually allocated 3 hours for this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And what I figured was the first part of it would be with the recruiter candidates. And then the second part would just be the three of you. You can invite me and Peter if you want.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be a public meeting, so people can stay on, but
yeah,
the intent was to basically have the rest of this be deliberative for you guys.
Great.
Should we move on to deliberations? Should we give everybody make a closing comment?
Yeah, closing comments would be great. It's so nice to meet all of you. I love putting faces to your resumes.
Yeah, I want to repeat again, thank you all for showing up so fast with such complete responses. Thank you for doing that for us. I much appreciated, and made our job pretty confident that we'll produce a good result no matter which firm we pick. And thank you for helping us do that. So closing comments, what order should we do? Lainey, do you want first?
Sure. I have a spotlight on me. I'm moving back because if I move forward, I have like I don't want to get up and shut my shades. So forgive the very bizarre lighting that's going on in my office right now. I just thank you for the opportunity. I do love working in the Pacific Northwest. I love working in public power. I think your combined utilities is very fascinating. I think the customer base and the things that you're doing is really interesting. So I would welcome the opportunity to work with you. I think we have shown a pretty decent propensity for success. I think we gave you a pretty good list of examples of searches, much of which was Pacific Northwest focused. So I won't reiterate everything that's in the proposal, but would welcome the opportunity and thank you so much for having me today. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who wants to go next?
Don't make them fight over it, just pick one.
Okay, Allison, you go next.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys I'm sorry, I'm dealing with the same thing that Lainey is dealing with.
We're in the same time zone, so the sun is
It
coming.
is, and it's
Yeah.
blinding.
For what it's worth, I have rain here, so I think
Yeah.
I can control it,
Okay, perfect.
I didn't think I would put my sunglasses on just so I didn't offend anybody. No, I'm only kidding. No, thank you guys very much. I know that this type of a transition is scary, exciting. There's probably a lot going on and you have a lot of information that you're swarming through, and your time during this time of year is valuable. So we do appreciate it. I'm super impressed by my colleagues, and I'm very confident that whomever you select as your partner is going to do a great job. It makes me proud to see that there's other folks that are as old as I am that have been doing this as long successfully. So I think you have a really great group of folks. We love working in Washington. We've had really great success with the small consumer-owned utilities, and love working with them. I think it's, to me, the process we go through in coaching and helping them select is personally so rewarding for me. One thing I didn't share about my background, I'll take this opportunity. In my first career, I was an executive coach during the late 80s, when oil and gas and banking had all crashed in DOD. And I was coaching executives who'd been in their roles for 30 plus odd years, looking for new roles. And I learned so much during that time. And I find working with the public and consumer-owned utilities to be as rewarding as that process was. I don't know that I've found it anywhere else, because it's super rewarding to see where you come out on the other side. And it is a process. We all have processes. Following it's the key. I think we've all done it very well and we've proven that. For me, though, that part of this is so rewarding, and getting on the other side and finding that person and helping you guys along the way. So we would love the opportunity. And again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure meeting each of you on the commission. I'm so thrilled to see how well you get along, how much fun you have interacting with each other, and the fact that you're pretty aligned. It sounds like on where you want this organization to go next. It's going to make it hugely helpful in finding your next general manager. One of the things about our firm and about us is that we have found that we make friends and we stay friends with a lot of the folks we've worked with over the years. They become personal friends as well as colleagues. And that's just sort of the nature of how we work, how we interact, and our commitment to aligning with you to find the person you want to find for your next general manager. Super important. As I mentioned in my 1-year conversation, that was really helpful for me to hear your vision. That really helped a lot to understand what it is you're looking for. Even though it may not be fully formed in your mind, you're already beginning to think down that pathway, which is super helpful. I want to thank my colleagues. It's been a pleasure getting to know you folks too. It's been fun to hear your answers and to learn from you and to hear how you do business. And I wish you all nothing but the best, okay, in the process. And commissioners, if we are the lucky firm to be selected, we can start tomorrow. Well, maybe Monday, but we'll be right there for you whenever you're ready to say go. So listen, all the best, and we wish you to nothing but the best in the future for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Wish the best for you too. That was very nice.
Yep. Take care, guys. Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate all
You want us to log out so you can have hard conversations?
Yes.
It's up to you.
All
Yeah.
right. By the way, I'm also available to help facilitate this part of the conversation. See y'all. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right.
Sorry about, I should clarify to my colleagues, I had, the meeting notice that I, got was for 1 to 3. And I don't have past 3 much, past 3.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
wanted to check on that. I have a ferry I've got to catch, so.
But let's go to 3. Is that good with you, Jamie?
Yep.
Usually Jamie's the one who puts the hard deadline on
I
meeting.
know. Yeah. That's fine. So
How do we want to proceed?
so I'll just tell you who's out for me, because I feel like there's not going to be a consensus, but I want to tell you why. I saw a lot of head bobbing when Prothman talked, and I'm the least sold on Prothman by a mile, and I'll tell you why. One thing, they're cheap. I think that you have to run a balance between being like, too costly and being cheap. Like when you're so low, when you're $60,000 below your next lowest competitor, that's a problem. That means you're not following industry standards, and there's a reason for that. The other thing is they offer an 18-month guarantee, which is like, to me, that signals that it's being used. I do know that GMP only offers 90 days. She was like, oh, well, we have 100%, placement rate.
Jen.
That also doesn't sound good, because that means that 100% is based off of 90 days. Which is different. I have a favorite. My cough is my favorite. I did not like that Prothman, when I asked a very pointed question about strategic alignment, had not even looked at our strategic plan. For me, that signals that they don't put in the time. Their forms that they gave us were just a smattering of like, look at all these people that we've placed. To me, that's less than impressive. And I will say with GEM, I loved that their entire executive summary spoke to our strategic alignment. However, still my cough, because they're middle of the road. They're middle as far as expense goes. They've worked in a lot of, it looks like, public power, public agencies. They do follow industry standards. That's where I'm at with it.
Okay, so let me, because all those comments did spark in me a response. To me, Jamie, all questions are good questions. However, some questions can be to the wrong party. And so a strategic plan question is, I would argue, not a question to ask a recruiting firm, because a recruiting firm is not supposed to set the goals. They're supposed to let us set the goals and not interfere in the process of identifying who's the right candidate for particular. These people have certainly done that in prior careers, but it's not what there's something that they're actively trying not to do. And for that reason, I really liked Prothman's answer on the point. Actually, none of the people had what I would call great answers on the strategic plan question. I also wondered about the budget related issues and the pricing of the budget. And I had a conversation with Chris on that. And perhaps Chris, on this point, you can help me if you don't mind. And that's one of the things that each recruiting firm does their work differently. The way Prothman works is they do all three parties here will do similar upfront work. I think Prothman's a little bit more, had a lot more detailed approach on how they do the upfront work, if I recall in reading their proposal. And then they leave it up to more online and other tools to cast the net. What's different with Mycoff and GEM, and also the other party that we didn't pick for this process, Mark, what's his name?
Wysocki.
Yeah. They do a lot more person-to-person networking. And Prothman was our firm that we used to hire Chris. And it was really good luck on where we found Chris. Now, Chris, you want to add to my comment there? And if you have any differences, please point those out.
Well, so I've never worked with Jem, but I've worked with MRI, Prothman, and Mykoff in many different scenarios. Prothman is a very low-touch approach. They rely on a very extensive mailing list of former city managers and current city managers, things like that. And they kind of spam out the email, and then they hang stuff out on web, on boards, and then they sit back and wait. And that's their whole process.
That's why they're cheap.
Yeah, and Mykoff and MRI, and I'm presuming Jem, but I don't know. MRI has a huge database, and so they do a modified version of that. They do the 5 million spams, but then they go in and actually contact 100, 150 people. Mykoff has an extensive database, and they will shoot out some email, but only to targeted people. And then they do very high touch, person to person to person. Well, if you're not the right person for this, do you know someone who is? And they grow their network like that. So they find out, it's really a difference in how they approach the touch.
Yes,
And I
to
do with
really rebut your point, Jamie. I think I disagree with that. It's a bad reflection on Prothman. It's just they do business a little differently.
I do want to rebut that. So that's my point. Okay, we sent out our strategic plan. They were supposed to read it. I'm not asking them to be not like, know everything about the strategic plan, but I do expect that a firm that we hire has some sort of idea of who we are, where we're going, because I want that personal touch when picking a GM. I don't want Prothman to just send out emails and somebody be like, oh, actually, I was looking for a 5-year job in the next, this looks good to me. And that's not what I want. That's how you get shitty employees. That's why they have such a lot. That's why they have an 18th month guarantee, because they're like, yeah, we're gonna throw some spaghetti at the wall. Sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't, and that's why they're cheap. I don't go cheap. I mean, I don't buy cheap handbags, and I don't hire cheap people.
Yeah, I just think it's unfair characterization to refer to as a price being low for a different approach to call them cheap is what I'm just.
But it is. It's a $60,000 difference, and it's because you're getting a $60,000 difference in the amount of work that's done. That's what I mean by cheap. For what they're doing, sending mass emails, that's what it costs. To me, that's not the kind of work that I'm looking to hire. That's not the work that I'm looking for. I want personal touch. This is a very important decision that we're making. And I don't want a smattering of people that just answer emails. I want somebody to be like, oh, look, they're looking for somebody who's focusing on culture. They're looking for.
There's a difference between saying what you want, which you're certainly right in doing so, and then ascribing a qualitative statement about the quality of another part of a vendor's work. And I just don't want us to do that, because Prothman has done lots of good placements, including they're the ones who found Chris. So I just want to.
Hey, don't try to berate me for calling them cheap. Okay, I'm not in the mood for beratements for calling people cheap. It's cheap work. I'm not looking for admonishment.
Makes you feel, if it makes you
no.
disappointed, that's you.
I'm not. Thank you.
That's not my choice. You can feel however you want. I'm just telling you that
I hear you, and I'm also not looking to be admonished. Not in the mood.
I'm not admonishing. I'm just saying that as a we're a public agency. There's no benefit in us.
And I didn't call them cheap on the call, but their work is cheap.
It's still a public meeting. Let's keep going.
I may.
Can I add one thing? The issue that Commissioner Deschmani brought up, with me coming in here through Prothman. There's no way I would ever have found Prothman's board. That was pointed out to me by somebody who knew that we might ultimately want to retire here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known. People in the utility industry do not know Prothman.
What about, I mean, their list of work samples is like, looks pretty good to me, includes, you know, like, I mean, Skagit County PUD's GM and a number of other localities in the
They've done a
area.
lot. Basically, people who hire Prothman they come out of general government. And that, I think, John was the one who brought Prothman to Whatcom PUD. And he did it because a lot of the cities that he works with use Prothman to hire public works directors, general managers, you know, things like that. So they really grew out of city government, essentially, and county government, and happened to hit a few utilities. And that's it. And they only deal with utilities to the extent that they're another government function, not that they're a utility, they're a government function. And that's really their, and they're experts at that.
It is extensive, but did you see some of the, like, Chelan was hired, the PUD manager was hired through GEM, is that correct? Or sorry, Mycoff. Some of them are people that we actually know that had been recruited.
Yeah, so the one that Allison was referring to, the 72 days, that was Pacific PUD.
Yeah, Pacific County PUD, Chelan County
Yeah.
PUD, and Grant County PUD.
Yeah.
They only listed 3 references, but they are actual people that we know.
Those are good references too.
They're
I mean,
One of the things,
granted,
sorry, go ahead, Eddie.
Oh, you're just cutting out.
Go ahead, Eddie.
well, I mean, so we do know some of the people on their list as well. I'm not saying, I mean, I think GMs, those are good
Yeah.
references too. I just, I guess one of the, I may respectfully disagree with Jamie. I mean, I do like Prothman, and actually partly for the reason is that it actually seems like they may have the strongest personal touch in some sense of being local, able to come up here in person, probably willing to spend more time on the front end with us than others who are, you know, zooming in from another time zone, and that they have these relationships and know people in all these, from having worked with all these different localities that are in the area, to be going back and making contact with. I do totally get what you're saying, and that it's generally, it's, you know, it's a good rule of thumb to never go with the lowest bid on a contract. But I do really like, I guess, for Mycoff and for Prothman, I like that they're offering flat fees with a clear estimation of the work rather than the sliding scale that's based on the salary. And, you know, granted, it's, yeah, if it comes with, if we're missing, you know, if there's less work being done for that rate, I mean, it's really just a question of, is it the work that we need to be done? Are we, like, how much are we losing? So.
Yeah, on the surface of it, for me, just looking at the resume of these 3 different outfits, Mycoff and Jem have done lots of this kind of a thing, whereas Prothman has done less in ratio of this kind of thing, has done a lot more staff placements. And there's more turnover in staff placements than you would expect at a you know, a GM role, perhaps. I don't know. But the reality is that's an important point, and the way they operate obviously would be a little different based on that. Now we did have success, but I think Chris is pointing out it was somewhat due to some luck. There's one other thing I wanted to bring up. Chris asked us to identify our top 2. I want to make sure that, is that what we all did? Did we identify our top 2, or did we identify top?
Just top 2 from each of you. Yes, that's what I got.
And so my top 2 were Mycoff and Jem. What was everybody else's top 2?
Mine were also Mycoff and Jen. And I want to be clear, when we first had our meeting on Tuesday, it was, I liked Jem and Prothman. And then I spent more time going through each of them, and I was quite turned off by the Prothman's cost. And then when I saw that, because I focused in on the two things that really differentiated them between the other offers, and it was cost and guarantee.
And yeah,
And
it's just like you. Yeah, that's why I called Chris and asked him, how do you explain the cost difference? So,
and I'm, like you said, I'm sure that they're great for
It's
lower
low-
level
it's low touch
positions.
versus high
Yeah.
touch. That's the cost difference.
and Eddie, what were
Granted-
your two choices?
Like there's also there's just facts of lower overhead, right? Like, I mean, they mentioned overall, it's like, because, there isn't the same travel costs. They're just a small firm. It's just a couple of people rather than, they just have a lower overhead in general. And so personally, I don't think I wouldn't write someone off just because they have a drastically lower bid. I mean, if they can deliver, I included Profman in my cough as my top
Okay.
two, and it wasn't just because they were the lowest bidders though. It was overall. I like that they have there's personal connection and knowledge of this area of Whatcom County, and of the, other surrounding areas where we'd be recruiting from, as well as having, recruited in other states and areas just like the other firms. There's the relation, granted, they knew Whatcom PUD, they'd worked for us before. I think recognizing that this bid went out like a week before Christmas, and here they are showing up, I wouldn't expect them to have spent really any more additional time in preparation for this than just, showing up on short notice to the Monday after Christmas. So, but they didn't strike me as, I didn't see any problem with the answers that they gave. Strike me as being unprepared. If it's, that is, I guess, what I recognizing though, also for the lower overhead, for the lower scope of work they may be offering, they could have bid higher. They could have bid at 50, and still been undercut the other bidders. And
then it probably wouldn't have tipped me off. Maybe.
But I like that they're
I'd like to bring it.
I like that if someone's gonna offer and say, this is what it costs, and not be like, we're gonna charge more as a percentage of, like actually have an incentive to get someone who is gonna ask for a higher salary. Like, I like that they're just saying, hey, this is what it's gonna cost, and not, upselling us because of the relative market value of the service. If they think it seems like they're offering what they think is fair. And I do wonder, as far as for, say GM, as is a lot to like, I think, a lot to consider there, but is that extra level of work they're gonna be doing that could run us up into, a 100K bill? Is that gonna, like, is it really worth it? Is it really that much more that they're doing in the value of the connections they have in that direct recruitment?
Oh, I think so. What you're talking about is the difference between smattering out like your database, right? It's the difference between me and fundraising. If I send an email out to all of my, constituents that have already emailed, versus actively going out and seeking, like using your development director to seek new profiles, new people, have coffee with them, see if it's a fit. Like that's a huge difference, right? That's a huge difference. And that's why you pay development directors lots of money, because they're sitting down and they're having coffee, and they're not just you relying on their database. And so
The development
in fact, I'm saying by like I respect a low bid, and that's what it costs for what they're doing. They're giving you the cost for what they're doing. But for me, we don't need a cheap service for this. We need a service that's like involved. I want people to make phone calls and have coffees and work on, finding the right fit. Chris is raising.
Well, I mean, it's not like,
Yeah.
Please, go ahead.
so one of the things that you mentioned, Jamie, was you're looking for someone with high EQ as well as high IQ. You can't get that from a resume.
Right.
That's only done one-on-one. And my experience, again, I haven't worked with Jim, but my experience with MyCoff is they spend enough time with the candidates to make sure that there's gonna be a good fit with the commission. You will get all the candidates, and you'll like them. You're not gonna end up with somebody that just, right after you talk to him, you go, oh, that was no good. You're just not gonna, it's a really different,
And
type-
it's something that's already important to Mycoff in their search, I believe, could be, because they offer an optional behavioral assessment.
Buster,
Which is like, I mean, that's great, but that also shows that they are in tune to the fact that leadership looks different for different people, right? Tool had touched on, not, I had mentioned EQ, but you talked about having those delicate conversations
finesse.
around adjudication and, that sort of thing, like, they're already in tune to that.
Yeah.
At least that's what I see from their proposal.
I just want to bring up, if just take a minute to bring up a little bit of a wild card point, and that's MRI. Not in any way suggesting that we consider them, because I wanted to let you know, both of you know, that I had a phone call with Mark from MRI. We have hired two of these firms, Prothman, of course, related with Chris. We hired MRI for the work and looking for our AGM position. And in that process, they looked for candidates, didn't find candidates who was completely under the purview of the GM, and Chris and MRI made the decision to do an internal hire. I guess Chris made the decision with MRI support. To some degree, that was and one could argue maybe not entirely successful use of a recruiter. Chris, you might have a different opinion on that. But we spent a lot of money to do an internal hire, is I guess what I'd like to say.
well, so for what we were offering in terms of salary, even our adjusted ranges, by using an external recruiter, I can come back with a straight face and tell you guys, I found the best person that we could get in the country for this job,
Yeah,
and it happened to be our own guy.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I had not used an external recruiter, I would not be able to say that.
Right. Oh, that's true. And that's a great point. Thank you for educating me. I mean, making that point. So in that phone conversation, two things. Number one, I learned that MRI had Mark had a personal emergency with his dad, so was not able to spend the amount of time and prepare a proper response that that he would have liked to. So I'm not making excuses for our decision. I'm just letting you guys know that that's why we didn't see their best performance. The other thing is that it did occur to me if there was any potential for him to be an assistant in the recruiting process to the firm we choose. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that if we wanted to work with an outfit like Prothman, perhaps an outfit like MRI could support that high touch personal networking resource that would augment Prothman's lack thereof. Crazy idea. I like to come up with crazy. Usually I like to bake them a little bit with Chris or somebody else in private, but here I am in a public meeting presenting a crazy.
Yeah, so the thing that makes me uncomfortable about that tool is that you had a private conversation with him and now you're asking us to hire him as like a second, and I don't know why. Private conversation.
I had a private conversation with them because there was this I think something like I brought up in our commission meeting that we spent $50,000. Is there any chance for us to get anything back for that? Besides what happened? And so I talked to Chris about that. He came up in our public meeting, and I was just following up with the vendor to see since they responded. And I was wondering why it was such a weak response. I understand why the response is weak. So that's all it was. I didn't discuss any ideas with them. I'm discussing it with you.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure, because we don't want to get in trouble like some other, entities we know.
Of course not. Of course not. No, and I would never propose anything like that.
Hire the recruiter that you want, if you want two different recruiters, you haven't made your mind up. Pick the one that fits, and I also can't imagine that either MRI or Prothman would agree to that.
Right.
I mean, that's just way outside of what either of them do.
Okay, no, thank you for entertaining that crazy idea. I will withdraw my crazy idea.
That's good to know, though, that there was something going on, because I was shocked by the lack of detail in
Yeah.
that.
We shouldn't take it personally. It was truly unforeseen circumstances that kept
Yeah.
that response from being as performative but that doesn't mean we should change anything about our decision process. I just wanted to let you guys know that. So.
Well, no, that's helpful to know. Sorry, you were gonna say something.
No, I wasn't.
I mean, I agree, it doesn't make sense to hire two consultants for this. Chris, I am
We're down to Mycoff, isn't that right?
well, I was just gonna ask so if you might, because I wasn't there for it, it'd be helpful to know if in your process being recruited, you're saying, so you saw you were pointed to the ad, there's some happenstance involved, but once what was the process like in between then when, in your application, how much was Prothman, was there a vetting process that you went through with them? Or did you just kind of come straight to the commission?
So I submitted a resume, and Jody, my wife, she said, well, what do you think's gonna happen? I said, well, when the laughter dies down, they'll say, we're not gonna talk to this old guy. And about a week after that, I got a call from Prothman, and Prothman just said, the PUD wants you on a Zoom interview.
PUD loves old guys.
So I said, okay.
Okay,
No
so
harm
there
there.
was no intermediary interview that they did with you or anything like that, okay. Is it, would we expect, so is that, are we looking for the recruiting firm to do more weeding out, to like bring, or do we just want people to apply and then we just see everyone who sees it to apply, who's willing, and then we just review all of
The
them?
recruiting firm weed out. There was like, as far as applicants, the original set of applicants, I don't have my binder right now with me, but there was, on the order of a dozen people that responded in one way or another. It was weeded down to, I think, 4 or 5. And then we did Zooms, and then we flew people out, 2 or 3. I think 3 candidates came and did actually in-person interviews, and that's when we made the decision. Of course, that happened in executive session, the decision for the GM hire.
The other 2 candidates, one was the either city manager or assistant city manager for Bellevue. And the other one was the director for fleet operations for Sound Transit. He
Okay,
was in charge of bus maintenance.
okay, so not directly in utilities.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of what you'd expect with Prothman's target audience. And to be fair, I mean, I don't know, the kid from bus maintenance, I don't know about, but the gal that was the Bellevue city manager, she was good.
No, they were both good candidates. We liked them all 3 of them.
Yeah.
That was me, Christine, and Mike.
Yeah.
Can we talk a bit about our process? I don't want to speed things along, but we are running out of time. So,
Yeah.
so it sounds like,
I can fill you in.
Well,
Okay,
hold on, but it sounds like we all had Mycoff on our radar, right? It was we all invited Mycoff. My instinct, even though I did really like Jem,
I did.
I was vibing with them. But we all chose Mycoff, and are we still there that we all would? I mean, I respect your like Prothman being less expensive. We can go rounds on cheaper, less expensive. I'm not feeling it. It's happy holidays.
I totally get where you're coming from. I'm glad we talked it through. That was helpful.
So
Yeah, we talked it through. Yeah.
I'm okay with letting go. I'm okay if we want to narrow it down, and with my like, if we want to just talk about Mycoff, I guess I think as far as, since you asked about process, I would see it as all of them are still on the table until we make a decision. We don't have to like cross one off in order to narrow it down. We can, you know, we could talk about one at a time and then make our decision.
Are we ready to make a decision?
I feel like I am ready to make a decision.
I am
but
too.
Oh, okay. I'm still saying my cough. Like, I
Yeah, me
think
too.
that the cost and the process and the like attention to detail, for me, it's all there with my cough. It is with Gem as well, but they're a little more expensive. And we don't have lots of money. Like, I can't justify the cost and difference between those two. They're fairly close, but I think my cough is probably a good bet, especially because they've hired some local PUD GMs that we know. Anyway, that's where I'm at.
Did you both have GM also on your list?
Yeah,
did.
Jamie and I picked the same.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give a fair consideration because I mean, I think well, sorry, Atul, do you want to give thoughts first?
No, I'm ready to move to a decision when the other rest of you
You're
are.
ready to go to decision? Okay, I guess I just want to look when just briefly here review. I'm looking for where was GM's? Did they give us? Where's the references?
Yeah, they did give us some references.
Because they also gave us full resumes for each of the
They
people
did, and
first.
I like that, and I like there's a lot to like about them.
Where's
Yeah.
the,
They're solid and they prepared the best proposal in my opinion.
Oh, wait, it says,
Oh,
so GEM is
GM
the one
the
who
one-
had the local,
Yeah.
the local,
3 PUDs.
Yeah.
3 Washington PUDs.
but my cough is the one, it seems like they specialize in public utilities from their references.
Yeah.
To be fair, on the scoring sheet, y'all, so I scored Mycoff and GEM the exact same. And Prothman came in just 2 points behind them. So we're really talking about narrow difference, as far as I'm concerned, narrow differences.
So they had the same score, but one costs a flat fee, basically. And after the interviews, would you still feel like, is that
After the interviews, it sold
they're-
me on Mycoff, actually.
okay? You like the Laney's responses?
Yeah.
Is it Laney or Lonnie?
Laney.
Laney.
I mean, I really like GEM too. I mean, for me, we could thumb wrestle over it. Like, it's one of the, like, it's very close.
So, granted, they're both in Colorado, right? Or
They are both in Colorado. They both have very high retention rates. Again, I'm a little worried about the retention rate at 100% with GEM because it looked like their guarantee was only for 3 months. Versus Mycoff's guarantee is for 1 year and she has a retention rate of 92%, which is pretty darn high. And that's for executive level positions that they hire at. It sounds like, yeah.
So yeah, my scoring was 27 for Gem, 24 for Mycoff, and 16 for Prothman. So there was a big gap there for me between Prothman and I changed, as always, I changed, as Chris, you saw that I cheated and I changed the scoring sheet, added 2 new attributes to evaluate, and that was responsiveness. Of course, Jim did really good on that. And then also access to talent. So.
Mycoff was my top scorer before the interviews.
Oh, and how do you feel after?
Good. I mean, I thought that they all did well. I like Laney's responses.
So I
Yeah.
think Chris would like to have from us a decision today on which firm we want to go with. And I'd like to honor my 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Nothing
I know,
more
but we got
important
that.
than commissioner, but if there's nothing crucial happening after 3, I'd rather be done by 3. So
I think we're good to end at 3. That gives us 15 minutes though. Is that correct by your clock?
Yeah.
And we're getting close. I feel like we are getting closer.
Feel about GEM.
It's granted, I mean, the list of, they give us 3 references, but I mean, what Mycoff's list though is longer and better, and it includes, you know, they recruited GMs 3 times for Snow PUD, and these other utilities. I think it's a stronger list overall. They also, you know, as well as the GM and CFO for Chelan County, which was also on GMs. I think they're strong. Yeah, I would definitely score them stronger on the for references, without, granted, not having called these references.
Right.
So,
They placed these though, and they have a
yeah,
92% retention rate, which is phenomenal. So
yeah, very like impressive all around, a good fit for the need as far as what their, you know, their experience in the network that they have. I would be confident that they would deliver, and
may I, Commissioner, may I ask one other thing? We've got, of course, staff on this call. Of course, it is completely the commission decision. Would the commission be interested in hearing any thoughts from anybody else, staff, if they have it on this decision?
of course, that was one of my things where we talked about process. I had really hoped to have, well, we can talk about it more, but I would hope to have input.
What I would recommend is, and I've seen this by both Prothman and Mycoff, where you have a panel that largely consistent of the commission, then you have a separate staff panel.
Yeah.
And then you have a, like that speed dating thing that they did, that Prothman did. Actually, it wasn't Prothman, it was the PUD did that. The recruiters don't care about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more data for them, which is great. But
So
that's
I'm
kind of,
really about the decision we're about to make, not about the firm. If anybody has any thoughts on it, please raise your hand.
Commissioners, I'm not able to raise my hand. This is Lisa. And I apologize if there's background noise because I'm on the road. But the only thing that I would add is that I did get some feedback from staff that participated in the last process with Prothman. And the feedback I received was that they weren't super impressed and didn't feel listened to in that process. I think that's important for you to know as you make your decision today.
Thank you, Lisa. Anybody else? Peter? Nothing?
Well, I mean, I was give you some observations. I took some pretty detailed notes in the answers, and the one that you're discussing the most had the most substance, Laney, Mycoff. So anyway, there was a lot of substance there. Yes, there was substance from Jim, but there was more from Mycoff.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
I would tend to agree with that too. Laney's answers were.
Anybody else?
I like the concision also. Yeah, to the point.
Great.
Devin, Garrett, anything? Just raise your hand and we can make you panelists.
Well, I think that we agree then on Mycoff, it sounds like.
Yep.
All 3 of you?
I don't know.
It's within my authority, so if you tell me to do that, I will.
Okay, I'll make a motion then that we select Mycoff as our recruitment firm.
I second.
The motion.
I would just add that'll be subject to negotiating a final contract. I don't anticipate an issue there, but your policy speaks of it in those terms.
Thank you, Peter. There's a motion, a section. Is there any further discussion?
Well, I hope there's no hard feelings towards.
Oh,
me.
God, no, we've done that plenty, Jamie. I love you.
Yeah, that's right.
Ultimately, I think, you're right. It's overall, right, and especially, and also you're,
I love you
Hang on.
too, Eddie, by the way. I don't want to
Everything
sound
else is-
unfair. I love you too, Eddie. I told Jamie I love you. Chris, I love you too, okay?
I love you too.
We got nothing but love, baby.
All love you.
Peter, it's too soon. It's too soon, Peter.
All right, so is that all of us?
I think that's the only business that we had to discuss today.
Oh, Joseph.
Wait, we
Joseph,
didn't-
Joseph,
Just for
Oh, yeah.
clarification on that motion, Peter, what is the caveat that you said? I caught part of that. Based on,
Oh, it's the motion is as stated by Commissioner Dishmani, subject to negotiation of a final contract, which is,
Okay.
yeah.
okay, that's the piece I wanted. I try to make everything legal, so.
We didn't do all
I
those.
don't
things.
believe we didn't all say aye.
we haven't said
Oh.
that, so I'd like to call the
We were
vote
still
then.
in discussion, so are you,
Yeah.
okay, calling the question?
I'll go ahead and call the vote then. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you, commissioners. That's the only business I have before you guys today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. You're doing great. What a great effort. I just wanted, Chris drove all the way out to Bellingham to bring me my binders. I just want to just so impressed that you made all that effort to make sure that I did my job. Thank you.
And we'll try not to be too mad at him.
Mad at me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Leaving me.
I know, it wasn't a secret when I came.
I know.
Is there anything else for the good of the order,
I
colleagues?
know I dirty dogged you though.
Yeah. We'll have to grab that snippet off the video and save it for time
Dirty
memorial.
dog.
Okay, so is there anything else for the good of the order?
No, I mean, I guess, can we talk about what's next?
Yeah.
So you, I will drop a contract.
I'll draw up a contract, I'll work with Lainey and Peter, we've done these before, so it's just basically you take the proposal, you reference that, and then you put our normal standard terms and conditions around it, and call it good.
I did like Lainey's question though, about have you guys as a commission talked about what, your top things that you're looking for, and what, will we have time to discuss that maybe at the ever?
Well, I mean, we can do it at every meeting from now on,
Okay,
And do we need our next commission meeting isn't a little bit further into January. If there's anything that we can do constructively regarding the GM search between now and then, please let us know, Chris, and we'll call for a special meeting.
Well, I think one thing that would be helpful would be a formal announcement.
Would you?
You said you wanted to do that.
Yes,
and-
okay, so I'll prepare something and I'll send it to you, Chris.
Yeah, and then I'll send it out to the other two commissioners, and somehow we'll avoid a quorum, but we'll have to approve it on the 9th. And
That's soon enough, but I meant the other thing was if there's anything that comes up in the getting, I mean, they've got plenty of homework to do. Mycroft has plenty of homework to do. So I assume we should let them have time to do homework, but let them know we want to move as fast as we can possibly move. And if they need anything from you or from the commission to support them, we will make time.
okay. That's no problem.
okay, sounds good. Let's go get on our holiday cheer now.
You should do
Happy
that.
New Year, colleagues,
Happy
and
New Year,
everybody at the
Commissioner.
PUD. Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy